In further side, I grew up at a time when it was very important to be outdoors having fun. You weren't playing baseball, spinning a top or flying a kite, you're always doing something. And around 9th grade, I ended up with some friends that own horses. And I took a liking for horses, and when I graduated from 9th grade, I told my mother I want a horse. She said she ain't got the money. I found a friend who was willing to sell me a horse for $15, and mommy said, yes, I can afford that. And I started with those races in the cane range and the bush up the hill and that kind of stuff. And then I hung out around our stables back in the days. And further started with the great Rudy Schulterbrand, Steve Riley. I went around Bobby Scarrow. He was 16 racehorses. One of my friends was a jockey for Doc and James and Los James. So I bump around this stable a little bit, and I ran my little $15 horse, which was not a good horse, but it was fun. Cutting grass, feeding, and training that way. And I learned how to care and take care of horses from then.
Yeah, well, we all want horse racing. I am a horse racing enthusiast. I love it. My dad teach me everything I know about horse racing. We grew up in the industry. I watch him train. I never particularly been a trainer, but I've been an owner. I've brought all the horses for Jodingo stables and for the Brown family as well. Prior, that's after my dad and my brother. They had purchased many horses as well. I think the soonest this track can be into operation would be Ag Fair next year, and that is, and we have to do it like Calder did it, meaning that we have to be able to bring our stables up to par, complete our racing surface, and then create a tent industry, meaning provide tents throughout the whole facilities so that individuals that come to the race can enjoy the race under these tents. There's no other way, because just to build the whole bleacher facility, stadium, that in itself is going to be a challenge to get it built quickly, to expedite it. Not only just building it, but just even bringing in the material for it is going to take them 2 to 3 months probably just to get everything on island. So to believe that it could happen this year, I think that's a long shot. I bet on long shots all the time, but that one I wouldn't be betting on. But for me, the closest I would think would be Ag Fair next year, and that's only, when I say Ag Fair, I'm talking about agriculture fair, and that's only if they start the construction process tomorrow.
As we were talking about different things, and so horse racing is my passion. I own a couple of racehorses. Everybody know my horses, them King David and King of Kings, and there was winners, trust me. I've been around Mr. Risco Davila for years, helping train horse. Pino, my good friend Selvin Miller, Marlow, we train horses around Marlow. I've been around Mr. Ray Oils when he had Dreadman and them horses there in Grove Place. But right now, Mr. Bruce Feather and my brother them have a mare down there in court. Hopefully they'll get to run the court when they ban in the next 2 years, 2 or 3 years, because if the court ain't ban yet, they will probably ban in about March or ending up early March, ending of February, something wrong there. And hopefully that we get that court going, that maybe in 2028 we will have that court and the adapting free track running as a native bred horse. Okay?
Good day. So yeah, I am really anxious and excited about being able to interview on the status of horse racing and St. Croix in particular. I'm Carol Burke, and yes, I am an avid horse racing fan. I'm an owner, promoter, sponsor, youth advocate with regards to training, and have done it all both locally and nationally. My exposure to horse racing was when my dad brought home a Palomino horse for us as kids in Anasoap. And we had a big yard, and we had an awesome time playing with, looking at possibilities with regards to that horse one day racing down at Flamboyant Racetrack. That's what it was called at the time. And so that's where it started. My father, then after Palomino Queen, he had other race horses, real estate, Crucian Queen. We had Luigi, we had Toe Loop. I mean, and on we continued with horse racing and having horses, whether it was my brothers or a family stable from Anna's Hope. But it began in the 1970s up until racing closed in the 2014. Because not 2014, 2017 rather, with the Hurricanes. At that time, I was acting as a consultant with the horsemen who were putting on racing, and I was finding sponsors and developing races for them. At that time, we had the first time ever Governor's Cup. My idea, my putting it together with the then Governor Kenneth E. Mapp. And I had a hell of a time, not from St. Croix, but I had a hell of a time and a lot of pushback from St. Thomas, because their claim was that we here in St. Croix shouldn't be having a Governor's Cup. But they didn't know more about horse racing than I did. There were two separate racing commissions at that time, and I knew that we were in our rightful place putting on the first ever Governor's Cup. Back then it was a Christmas race. I'm proud to have been a part of that, but I'm equally proud to have put on one of the biggest, most competitive race ever at the Doc Randall James Racetrack. That was the Hosting Cup, and the year escapes me, but it was July 3rd. Competition, it was a Tri-Island competition. The horses in the highest class, there was Dixie Storm, Corporate Affairs, and Superdue from St. Thomas. And it ended up in controversy where the police had to get involved prior to the rules. Unfortunately, it involved my very good friend Arturo Watlington and Billy, the cop, I can't remember his last name. It escapes me right now. Billy Harvey. But they had an incident down at the paddock area, and it escalated into something that we didn't anticipate. The crowd was massive. Fans from Totola, St. Thomas, and St. Croix came. Myself and Alan Vanterpool were partnered as promoters at the time, and I had hired Neville James to run the parimutuel during that time. We had such a day at the races, but ultimately that it was a little dampened the spirits of folks, but the race went on. And when it was done, Dixie Storm was announced the winner, but it went down in the book as a very, very exciting and competitive race, because it was by I think it was by invitation, if my mind served me correctly. Yes, it was. But that was in the 90s, right? My engagement stepped up after that, because as a senator, I also paid attention to what was being developed, here locally, and our effort to evolve into professional racing. And so I introduced, and it was passed, the first ever simulcasting legislation, and account wagering legislation, where you could go and establish an account on the track and utilize your account to wager here and off-track betting. And that was the first time that happened as well. And I was proud to be able to assist the industry in that regard professionally and legislatively. And so,
because like most people, I wanted to breed the mares and stuff. It's like they're scared to breed it. Okay, it's like, okay, what's the point of me breeding my mare and then a full drop? And I don't know what, okay, I just spending money. I don't know if I'll get to see it run or not. So that's like me just have a style, just feeding. You check out, I ain't making no money effort to feed him. And before you just, okay, breed this mare, feed, come in, but take care of him. But right now everything is there, decline, man. And I know Amy, I know for sure Amy alone. I know, okay, I have a friend, for instance, I have a friend, you have a mare, she's 3 years old, ready to run, and he have no place to run her. He checks all of that discouraging me, just discouraging a lot of people, man.
Right, and what about making it over to St. Thomas or the other tracks?
Yeah, St. Thomas, okay, we could do it. Yes, but man, we live here, We live on St. Croix, so we have no training truck. We need a training truck to travel to St. Thomas. You check, you have 1 or 2 guys that have the natives, do the little thing and go over at least 2 weeks before race and stuff. But we need a training truck. Here we ain't no training truck. You check, we just get. Then we might just say, okay, we're going rock to rock. We got rock to run. We got next. That's a bigger expense. You need hotel. You check food, transportation. That's a bigger deal. Now we at home. We got our own house. You check. We get everything. It's like we leaving home. I'm going to a whole different place. Just for horse race, yeah, we love it, but it's a bill, man. And horse is not cheap to my neck. It's a big deal, big bill. You check. Right. But what I would do, right? I'd complete the stable area, right? Complete the stable area for now, and deal with the truck, basically like the surface, and cause no matter what, a lot of horses are coming. St. Thomas truck is basically complete. You check. So I would try to pull more, more races, a bigger race card for St. Thomas. How we over here, we go train for now, cause we ain't gonna truck. We go train on top of our truck, and then I travel to rock, come back, and them same thing we traveling, right? Traveling back and forth now. You check, we have a truck, we go train on instead of going rock and staying so long, a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance. You check, rather than 3-4 months in advance. You check, and while that happening, they could just probably build up the grandstand, the same Racino that everybody want, the Racino and all that stuff. But the main thing we need a training surface. We need a training truck. Check, that's the main thing.
Okay. A whole year or 2 pass and still no movement.
How it feel? I personally feel it's just me the same thing. Just to the same hub. You check a VIACAE. It's VIACAE say they start doing some work, but that's taking long, delaying everything. But they are saying they need permits for this, permit for that. You check. So now the government me know what happen. I just want horse race back. So the next year or 2, I know for sure it ain't gonna happen this year. But middle of next year, you check, 2026, 27, we could have a full complete race truck, running race truck. Nice. You check. And the next thing we have to get back our veterinarians, equine vet, run a proper race truck, man. Yeah, that's how you feel.
Yeah, Ramon, how are you doing? So, you get a chance to see what we had down there, right? You see the piles of dirt, and the 2 piles of dirt. One is the one soil that they bring to put on top. The other one was the one that was there that they took up. You get to see the distance in between the railings, what was too narrow from what was just wide enough. Some supposed to be 6, it's supposed to be 60, and some was in the 50s and 40s. And then you also saw that where instead of putting down the running surface first, they put on the railings first, and then dig up, or either dig up and then put on the railings, where the railing is supposed to be the last thing going down. But the government gave them $5 million. The governor gave us $5 million to do something, and if we don't do something quick, I don't know where we're gonna go from there. You know, so far they ain't doing nothing but cut it. They cut the grass and the grass grow back. I passed it up to this morning, and the grass grow back because I personally would like to see racing here in St. Croix in the near future. But it looks like from how we're looking, it looks like we ain't gonna do nothing for this year.
Mr. Richardson, are we on pace doing the right thing? How the documentary will sound to you? How we sound to you right now, given all the information?
Great. I got a strong camera, so
Okay.
when I go home, I'm gonna make sure everything. I'll take the best of the best. Probably have to raise the audio up. I don't do an interview with Soji before we start.
Yeah.
I probably don't get a closing with both of you
Right.
when we get off the air.
Yeah, no problem.
But I wanted to ask you, if I'm watching a documentary, is there anything that wasn't covered that you would like for me to cover in part 2?
Well, actually, the Racing Commission, because nobody's talking about that. You don't have nobody for the Racing Commission.
What do you want going with?
We need a Racing Commission for St. Croix run the Doctrine Racetrack.
Okay, and who's presently?
Presently,
Oh, no.
the chairman of the Horse Racing Commission is Mr. Datsun James.
Okay.
And then you have Ron Phillips and Mr. Henry Shang.
Okay.
And I think that's it, and you don't need 6. So you need 3
I
more.
need 5.
You need 5?
I was
You
asking.
become the commissioner of Sports Park and
Well,
Recreation.
either 4 or 6 because I always a number.
Yeah.
So basically, just feature them a little more. And
Yes.
get them
Yeah,
on
we need to get a racing commission. We don't have a racing commission.
Okay, is that a big reason why?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So BBM is a little below.
No, BBM is a different organization.
Different.
BBM is the Flamboyant Horsemen Association. The Racing Commission is who will run the racetrack.
Okay. So they're gonna be monitoring things with the housing.
Yeah,
costs.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's why they need
a full body. Don't get to the phone right here.
Okay, my name is Jay Watson. I'm the former chairman of the VI Horse Racing Commission. And I was asked to give a little synopsis on what transpired during my tenure as the chairman of the commission. First of all, when I became the chairman of the commission, I really thought that I would make a difference. I thought that, because I have a passion for horse racing. From a young boy, I am probably one of the few people who went through horse racing, from being a hot walker to an exercise rider to a jockey to a trainer and then an owner. You know, not too many people here can say that. You know, a lot of people got into horse racing and became owners, or they trained horses for somebody, but you know, to go through the progression from being the hot walker, actually the stable hand, person that just mucks the stalls, to being a hot walker, to being a exercise rider, trainer, owner, you know. So when I got on the commission, we didn't know really the status of the contract or the franchise agreement between VIGL and the government. So when we got in there, we had to actually find out what was going on, you know, where the project was at the time. Because if you remember, the franchise agreement was put into effect, well, let me not say put into effect, but it was approved by the legislature in 2016. When I got to the Racing Commission, it was 2019. And we still didn't know where we was. So that our first meeting that was held in Bureau of Information and Technology, we brought VIGL to give us an overview as to where the project was and tell us, you know, what was going on. It was at that meeting that I realized, based on some of the answers I was getting from VIGL, that there was an issue with the capital in order to fund this project. There were also some things that were done that was not in accordance with the franchise agreement that was approved by the legislature. So VIGL were making deals with the horsemen. For one case in point, in the franchise agreement it says that the track, they were supposed to put a 6 furlong chute at the southwestern end of the racetrack. So apparently VIGL got with the horsemen and they decided, okay, we're gonna do a mile chute. The horsemen said, we want a mile track. Okay, so VIGL said, okay, we'll give you a mile track, but we're not gonna do the chute. Okay? So by the time I was on the commission, I let them know, hey, the franchise agreement says you have to put the chute back. They said, well, Mr. Chair, we decided because the horsemen, they said they wanted a mile track. We're gonna give them a mile track, not gonna give them the chute. I said, whatever agreement you made with the horsemen has nothing to do with what the terms of the franchise agreement was. That would be separate and apart. Franchise agreement calls for a 6 furlong chute, and you gotta put the 6 furlong chute. My fellow commission members agreed with me on that. I think it was at that point VIGL kind of realized this is not a regular guy. And I think my knowledge of the horse racing industry, not just locally, but nationally, kind of intimidated people to the point that they started to undermine my efforts. Okay? And in doing that, that has gotten them to the place they are right now. Because had they listened to what I was trying to tell them beforehand, we would have already had racing. What I realize is, and I used to get frustrated, but I don't get frustrated anymore because I have come to the acceptance, right, that what I perceive and what I could see cannot be accomplished by the current members of the Racing Commission, by the current horsemen, and by the current people in power, like senators and stuff like that. They don't have the capability to bring professional, regulated, sanctioned racing to St. Croix or the Virgin Islands. Okay? But I have that capability. And I think that's a threat to a lot of people. I've been removed. The governor chose to remove me from the Racing Commission. In his removal letter, he made some inferences to which I responded because not only were they inaccurate, they were actually falsehoods. Okay? But, you know, there's a saying, when you dig a grave for somebody, make sure you dig two. Okay? And since that time, I continued my efforts to improve horse racing, not just in the Virgin Islands, because Virgin Islands isn't a regulated, recognized racing district. But in November of 2023, I was responsible for hosting the first ever Caribbean Horse Racing and Regulatory Conference that was held on the island of Puerto Rico. And I could have brought that here, but because of the obstacles and obstruction by my own people, and when I pitched the idea to Puerto Rico, they accepted me with open arms. And we had individuals that left here, horsemen, public officials, that attended the conference and seemed to be upset because they thought I should have informed them about it. But I was clear when I spoke to them. You know, why should I inform you when all you tried to do when I was the chairman of the commission was obstruct my efforts? But the fact that I didn't say nothing, they went to Puerto Rico. see what I'm saying? They went to Puerto Rico.
They followed your blueprint.
Yeah, they followed it. They went to Puerto Rico. They were there, and they saw what I was capable of bringing together. And that was bringing together all the recognized racing districts in the Caribbean. So we had representatives from Jamaica. We had representatives from Trinidad. We had representatives from Barbados. What do they have in common? All of them are the recognized racing districts in the Caribbean. To which I hope one day, if the Virgin Islands decides to do what's required, this is not hard. It's hard for them, but it's not hard for me. I know I can achieve professional racing in the territory.
Good day. Name is Derek Ballantyne Senior, aka BB. Right now, my take in horse racing in Virgin Islands, St. Croix in particular, is null and void. The people of the Virgin Islands, the government, is not being truthful to the people and giving us all the facts. There's a lot more behind the scene that needs to happen before the flamboyant racetrack could be in operation. Trasco, DV, Carino Bay has to be reimbursed. They have to be allowed to run the operation to make back the money that they lost because of the inappropriate decision that the prior administration made. So the people of the Virgin Islands needs to be told the truth, and the government needs to be more transparent. If I may elaborate a little bit, right now in St. Croix, we're talking about Horseman Association. We don't have an active Horseman Association because to be a member of the Horseman Association, you have to be licensed with the Racing Commission. St. Croix does not have an active Racing Commission. Okay? So, that's my take. But
as far as the Horse Racing Commission and their role to regulate horse racing, they play a major role. Obviously, horse racing cannot operate legally without a horse racing commission in place. On live race day, the commission hire people to manage that process for them, such as judges and other individuals who are very important in the actual horse racing event. The commission itself, they regulate, they mandate, they manage as the law allows them to do. They're licensed horsemen. Horsemen are not to be able to operate as a trainer, as a groom, as an owner, unless they're licensed by the commission. The commission have a certain amount of commissioners that are on the board. Once there is an even number where they can vote, I think that should be substantial enough. I don't remember what the amount of commissioners are required on the board, but I do know that the quorum should be 3 to 5, as far as I understand it. Once they have a quorum, it don't really have an issue to do with how many of them are there, as long as there's a quorum. So if the membership is 8 and they have 5 there, that works. If the membership is 5 and they have 3, that works. So, and they know the job, and there's a law, and there's rules and regulations that everybody have to abide by. Their job is to enforce that. And I think they're doing, in the past, they did a great job. So I don't see it as a impediment as far as the amount of commissioners that are in place, as long as that amount values or comes up to a quorum, it shouldn't be an issue. So I think that just works either way. Once you have enough, let's run horse racing.
So here we are, Mr. Bro. You saw from Kings to Pawns part 1. You even let me know, like, wow, I rise to the occasion, you know. But here we are, part 2.
Yes, sir.
Why are we still, you know, at this point?
Well, you know, there's some technical stuff that took place. There's some unfortunate stuff that took place. There's some political stuff that took place. But we've heard the governor, and the governor is going to be the savior. He's going to bring horse racing to St. Croix, and we just have to believe and trust in his commitment. He's working very hard, he's working diligently, and I know he's going to make it happen. So we're at a place now 9 years later where finally this horse racing industry is going to be recognized and realized again. You know, so we just have to be patient, and I can't ask a horseman to be more patient than 9 years, but I can say the governor is making every effort to make sure that horse racing return to the Randall Dock James racetrack.
The documentary did well. We had a lot of people who was informed and made a good statement. So all in all, it had a good storyline, and it was very informative.